Way back when I made the BM Hunter artifact quest, which is absolutely phenomenal, by the way, I gave it the biggest kick in the fucking teeth ever and could not even believe that the spec had been created this way. As such, I played it on and off to see whether or not Blizzard had changed it, but ultimately, here we are. And has it changed much? No, it hasn't at all. So the question that's going to be left in your mind when I show you the preview in a moment is, who the hell is this spec for? I think this is a first idea of a spec for those guys who, honestly, aren't very good at World of Warcraft, and I'm not being disparaging there either. There are plenty of people who really struggle, either because age has got in the way, or their time commitment, or frankly, they're just not great at the game, and want to focus on things like raid mechanics, and being able to avoid stuff, not die, and still contribute and be a decent member of a mythic raiding team. This is the spec that's probably for them. It's incredibly simple, almost to the point of being mind-numbingly boring if you're someone who is okay with already dealing with mechanics and stuff, and you're okay with managing trinkets, making decisions based on cooldowns, and when I do videos about looking at timers and assessing how long a fight's left to go, that all makes sense to you. But for plenty of people, that doesn't make sense to them, and they struggle with that. So the BM Hunter is kind of the entryway, doorway for players to get into. Does that mean that it's perfectly okay? I'm in fact a supporter of that. I want to raid with funny people, interesting people I can chat to regularly every weekday. That doesn't mean they're going to be the best players. So specs like this, I'm not ultimately against. The big fear, of course, is that this spec might be the best, and therefore anybody who loves the Hunter might be stuck in a situation where they have to play a spec that is questionably horrible. Let's take a look at exactly what I'm talking about then. Okay then, so let's take a look at the BM Hunter, and it's been one of the specs most complained about anybody who's been playing a Hunter for a while, as of course Legion was intended to be the big revamp for the Hunters. That hasn't gone astronomically well by any means, and most people are actually really dissatisfied with the changes Blizzard has made. So let's take a look at what you get with your BM Hunter. As you can probably see, I have two pets. If you've seen the artifact quest, you'll know where our friend Hattie comes from, but however, you do get Hattie, and a good thing is, once you upgrade your artifact in order to gain different looks and skins for your artifact, Hattie will also change its look as well. I would still have absolutely preferred to have chosen what Hattie looks like, so we could have had some matching pets or something like that, but equally enough, well, it's okay that it does change and you can kind of pick and choose what it's going to look like. Of course, we do get the gun as the BM Hunter. So what do we get? You still get Kill Command, you still have Cobra Shot, you still have Dire Beast, which is going to be of crucial importance, you still get Bestial Wrath, you have your new DPS cooldown, which is Aspects of the Wild, which is going to give your pet 10 focus per 1 second, and 10% increased critical strike chance on all attacks for 10 seconds. Not the most overwhelming thing in the universe by any means. We still get Men Pet, we still have Aspects of the Turtle, which is now your ability to deflect. It's very cool. And also we get Men Pet and usual stuff, and Disengage is still in the game. We still have Concussive Shot, and we have Multi-Shot as well for our AoE. So what is the big problem everybody's worried about? Well, the system that's in place of the BM Hunter is so ridiculously simple that it's almost mind-boggling how anybody could ever get this wrong. Essentially, your Bestial Wrath, okay, is something that you don't really think about anymore. It's not a DPS cooldown in the traditional sense. Most of the time, when teaching people how to play World of Warcraft to a high level, I will talk about things like you have to monitor how powerful your character is before you make good use of things like Bestial Wrath, because the whole idea is that buffs in World of Warcraft are just stack on top of each other. You want to gain critical strike chance, and then you want to increase your damage during that window and your haste, because all those things compound on top of each other to create absolutely tremendous DPS. However, the way Bestial Wrath works now is you actually want to fire it off as soon as humanly possible and as soon as it comes off cooldown, and that's for good reason. Bestial Wrath sends you and your pet into a rage, increasing all damage you deal by 20%, so that's a pretty significant damage bonus. Bestial Wrath's remaining cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds each time you use Dire Beast. Okay, so Dire Beast is actually the bread and butter of this spec. Dire Beast summons a powerful wild beast to attack your target for 8 seconds. You'll notice it has a 10 seconds or 10.6 second base cooldown, okay? It also generates focus over its duration. And focus obviously translates into how often you press your attacks. Now, this also ties into the fact that if we come into here and you see Wild Call, your auto-shot critical strikes have a 30% chance to reset the cooldown on Dire Beast. This means that having Bestial Wrath not on cooldown, okay, having not pressed it, is ridiculous. Because every time you press Dire Beast, it's going to drop that cooldown by 15 seconds. That is huge, ladies and gents. That is fucking enormous for something that only has a 1.5 minute cooldown anyway. So as you can see there, it just procced for me again. You can see it's already down to 45 seconds. This spec is entirely reliant on how often you press Dire Beast, because the more times you press Dire Beast, the more Bestial Wrath you'll get. You can see it's almost down to 18 seconds now. The more times you do this, and the more critical strike chance you're obviously going to want to gain in order to make this happen more often, means that you have Bestial Wrath much, much, much more often. Okay? So this is the entire crux of the spec. Everything else is kind of filler. You can see we had another reset there. Everything else is kind of filler. Okay? So you want to be pressing kill command, but you can see how quickly Dire Beast needs to be reset. You can see we had 2 there. The maximum Dire Beast I have had out at any one time is 4. I believe people have had 5 and maybe even more, but most I've seen personally while playing over the alpha and of course into the beta. I just did 2 levels on this one, which honestly wasn't that bad. I got to watch a lot of Netflix. I'm not being sarcastic there, but this spec is ridiculously easy to play. Is 4 Dire Beasts at a time, and that will play into some of the decision-making process that you'll get later. But ultimately, the vast majority of your thinking with the BM Hunter is completely out of your hands. You want to use Bestial Wrath as soon as possible, and then you want to use Dire Beast as soon as possible. So if you picture an add-on like Tell Me When, where you generally have your cooldowns here, you literally do press whatever is not on cooldown. You'll have Bestial Wrath on your left, Dire Beast next to it, and you will just keep going along the circle. A decision process could be, like, does Bestial Wrath have less than, like, 15 seconds left? Like, that's 13, that's okay. If Bestial Wrath has less than, like, 10 seconds or 9 seconds, it's kind of almost worth waiting, but even is it? Because Dire Beast can reset anyway during that window. On top of that, you have these things. You're going to say, well, what about Kill Command and Cobra Shot? Okay, these cost 30 focus and 40 focus respectively. What you'll actually notice is with the Dire Beasts is that you can't really get rid of your focus anyway. I'm not joking here. You can't. If you keep spamming and spamming, your Cobra Shot will just sit here. And as this is the baseline stuff, we are going to go into talent shortly, which does add some thought process to this, but you can pretty much see that my focus regenerates so quickly, especially when Dire Beast is working its way back up again. The biggest decision you'll have to make with your focus is Kill Command about to come off cooldown? Maybe I'll save a Cobra Shot. And that's about it. That really is about it. As long as you keep pressing your Dire Beast and your Bestial Wrath is still on cooldown, you're going to be doing pretty much everything the BM Hunter can do. So another decision process that will go on in your mind is literally as complicated as this. Are you single targeting or doing 1 or 2 mobs? Then you'll use Cobra Shot. If you're not, then you'll use multi-shot and do the Beast Cleave. And that's about it, honestly. There's not much else to tell you there other than that is how the BM Hunter plays right now. I wish there was more to it than that. I wish I could show you something really interesting happening. And you'll probably notice here that even firing off Bestial Wrath is really inconsequential because you just want to press it and get rid of it. It doesn't feel powerful. It doesn't feel interesting at all. It just does what it's going to do. So, with that being said, and I truly wish there was more to tell you, there isn't. That is pretty much it. Let's go on to the talent system. That is basically how the BM Hunter plays, guys. That is literally all it is. The talents will add some thought process to it, but not a great deal. So then, let's look at them. So the talents you're going to find at level 15 are entirely passive and don't particularly affect much of your decision-making process. So Big Game Hunter increase the critical strike chance of your auto shot, which is going to give you more Dire Beasts, obviously, from what I've just told you. And Cobra Shot by 50% on attacks that are above 80% health, similar to the old Marksman, careful aim ability. Nothing you can really change about that, honestly. You would probably just drop Kill Command. That's about it for 80%, so you could get, but it's coming through your auto shots. You see, this is the thing. The more I'm trying to introduce more complexity to the spec, and it's just not really there. As the Dire Beast resets come from auto shots, it doesn't make a difference to your gameplay at all. Way of the Cobra. Cobra Shot deals 10% increased damage for every pet or guardian you have active. The situation is, realistically, you're not changing your gameplay based on this, because you have no control whatsoever over how many guardians you have out. You have no control. If Dire Beast is reset regularly, all good. That's thumbs up, man. That's happy days. But you don't control that. Dire Stable, Dire Beast generates an additional 8 focus over its duration. Okay, I mean, there's not much we can do about that because we only have a few things to spend our focus on regardless. So at level so those are all passives, by the way, so there's no choice there that you can really make. At level 30, Stomp. When your Dire Beasts charge in, they will stomp and deal damage to all enemies nearby. Okay, again, nothing much I can do about that. Dire Beast is completely at the mercy of my critical strike chance on my auto shots, pretty much. Nothing I can make a decision on there. Dire Frenzy replaces Dire Beast. Cause your pet to enter a frenzy, performing a flurry of 5 attacks on the target and gaining 45% increased attack speed for 8 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. This is actually quite cool. This is one of the nice ones, as is Chimera Shot. So you'll notice I have Chimera Shot on my bars here. Chimera Shot is actually free, which is surprising. It generates focus, which is really interesting. I would love Chimera Shot to be baseline, okay? It's a two-headed shot that hits your primary target and another nearby target, so you get some cleave out of it. It hits sufficiently hard. Okay, it's quite nice, but again, it's nothing you have to manage. This is the important thing. You don't manage this other than pressing it when it's off cooldown. Because it doesn't cost anything. It's actually just going to generate you focus. It's just an extra button to put in there so you have something else to press. Realistically speaking, as I've been leveling and doing dungeons with this, Chimera Shot has been the main choice for me because, one, it's something else to keep me interested. This is obviously not a spec a player like me would enjoy. I don't think that's unfair to say. Yeah, it's just an extra button. Now, if this was baseline, that'd be quite nice. It's just something extra to throw into the mix. But ultimately, it's nothing, again, you have to manage other than, is it off cooldown? I should probably press that. Post-haste is really... I find this so strange. So, aspects of the cheetah and aspects of the pack are gone, which is really quite sad. It was such an iconic spell of Hunters, but here we are. We do have aspects of the cheetah, but it's now a 3-minute cooldown, okay? It's very different than what it was. It increases your movement speed by 90% for 3 seconds, and then by 30% for another 9 seconds. So you get a short-term sprint. However, it is a 3-minute cooldown, okay? You need to bear that in mind. It's a huge, huge, huge cooldown. Now, compare these for yourselves. Dash, increase the duration of aspects of the cheetah by 3 seconds. That's not that great considering how long it generally lasts anyway. So you get 3 seconds of 90% and then 30% for another 9 seconds. For a total of 12 seconds increased movement speed. There aren't many places you can't get to in 12 seconds that you couldn't have just disengaged to in the first place, right? You get what I mean? We already have disengage on our bars as well. So that makes Dash really underwhelming. Fast Strider, your ability critical strikes have a 10% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on disengage. Great for PvP, I suppose. I mean, I've found no use for this whatsoever in PvE. I've done loads and loads and loads of dungeons in the alpha and over the last one. I did like 2 on this character. As you can see, I have a lot of rested. I actually finished my testing on this on Friday. It's currently Monday, but I had my wedding anniversary. And post-haste, though, Disengage also frees you from all movement impairing effects and increases your movement speed by 60% for 8 seconds. This is so overwhelmingly better than Dash for me. I mean, if Dash would really seriously reduce the cooldown of aspects of the cheats, that would kind of compete, but between Dash and Disengage, I mean, Disengage only has a 20-second cooldown as it is, and you get this huge movement speed after it to position. I don't really see this as a fair tier at all, and perhaps someone down in the comments can actually suggest a reason why these are like this, but I've tried and tested all of them extensively and found no reason for Fast Strider or Dash to particularly exist. So at level 60 we get One with the Pack, okay? Grants Wild Call a 10% increased chance to reset the cooldown Die Beast. So of course this spec revolves heavily around Die Beast, and Wild Call is your auto shot critical strikes having a 30% chance to reset your cooldown. Obviously that is with the One with the Pack, so it's a 20% baseline. So it makes sense, right? You're getting more pets out, you're getting more Bestial Wrath uptime. Bestial Fury increased the damage bonus of Bestial Wrath by 20%. So you're basically exchanging more regular Bestial Wraths for a more powerful Bestial Wrath at that point. And Blink Strikes, your pet's basic attack deals 50% increased damage. It can now be used from 30 yards away. Kind of cool if you're going to be doing some, some movement around. I actually always think Blink Strikes is more a case for people who don't control their pet a lot. I know that's not always the case, but I'm just suggesting, if somebody has pet assist on all the time instead of like leaving their pet on a proper target and getting on with other things, but your pet... I did a video, I think I did a video early Mists of Pandaria where I showed hunters and pet classes exactly how ridiculous they were being with their pets running around constantly. If you're just leaving pet assist on and you're switching targets a lot, I think I used the Twin Emperors as a good example there, or I forget the name of the boss, the Emperors at the end of Mogasham Vaults, and working and showing how Blink Strikes was kind of vital if you're going to use assist, so that's kind of why that still exists. We have Binding Shot, Wyvern Sting, and Intimidation. You guys know all about them. Then we can add something in. So we still have a Murder of Crows. It still works exactly the same as it used to. It costs 30 focus, so again, not difficult to manage with the amount of focus we're regenning in this spec at all. Still does the same thing. Pretty cool for leveling, but although I prefer Barrage. Barrage then, 60 focus, so you do have to think about Barrage. If you're going to be using Barrage on cooldown, you can't really spam away all your focus if you want to do if you want to do that. A couple of kill commands and a couple of Cobra shots are pretty much going to leave you high and dry on that focus. If I could actually get there, you can see there. If you start spamming properly like this, if you're just literally whacking mindlessly, you are not going to be able to fire off your barrage. It'll just stay grayed out. So that's something you do have to consider, is to keep your kill commands on use and your barrage. But basically, all you're doing at that point is not pressing Cobra Shot. That's all you're doing at that point. And as long as your focus doesn't cap, you're not in any trouble. You're not missing out on any damage, really. Unless you have some mad trinket procs for a couple of seconds or something silly like that. So barrage is really cool. Still as good as it always has been. Barrage is such a fantastic spell. Volley made its return, so I should probably show you the animation. You guys, Volley was like something of nostalgia, I guess I want to say. It doesn't really seem to make sense comparative to everything else. I mean, Beast Cleave and Barrage should have been more than enough, and maybe Volley could have worked its way in somewhere else. The problem with Volley is it costs 80 fucking focus, man. It's so expensive. It's really crazily expensive. I'm not saying it's not decent damage, but fuck me, it's expensive. And you just can't seem to press anything else when you fire this thing. So you fire it off, and there you go. It doesn't look particularly cool either, right? Let's be honest. And it has such a low cooldown that this is how you kind of used Volley, is you fire it off, you keep Dire Beast going to generate the focus, and you just kind of wait. Like, even if using Kill Command, look how long I have to wait to again use Volley again. If I really want to maximize Volley, I have to really not press anything. Do you see this? This is kind of how this works. This is with the current setup anyway. So you can fire it off. You might say, oh shit, I had three. There you go. So I've got 3 Dire Beasts on the go at the moment. I can fit in a kill command at that point. But realistically speaking, if you want to get the best use out of Volley, you kind of have to stop pressing any buttons, which is real crazy. Anything that costs focus anyway, for sure. And then move down then. Stampede. So I just took aspects of the beast by a complete accident. I want to show you Stampede. Most people have probably seen this, but Stampede has a new animation. The new animation is based around the idea that they don't want Stampede to be tied into how many Guardians you have. So your previous Stampede would have summoned all your pets from the stable. It doesn't do that anymore. So we have aspects of the beast. Kill command causes an additional effect. Again, nothing you can really control about that. Kill command is just on a set cooldown. Kill a Cobra while Beast of Wrath is active. Cobra Shot has a 25% chance to reset the cooldown on kill command. Okay. And Stampede, which is still, it's a 3-minute cooldown now, which isn't too bad. But it just has a new animation. But again, you'll see you don't spawn like pets, really. What you get is like this swathe of animals that'll come charging out. So, boosh, this is what it looks like. It looks very nice. You get the pets all summoning out, and they just charge through. They like tunnel through. It's a very similar thing to what the Frost DKs have with their Frost Dragon that spawns through the threat. I actually think it looks graphically very, very amazing, and I understand, given I've already shown you some of the things that are tied into how many Guardians you have, why they've changed that from being summoning all the extra pets, because some people will definitely be abusing that, and they don't want you to be able to abuse that with the Beastmaster Hunter. They don't want you to be able to do that. So that's one thing. So let's look at the artifact then. You're not going to find much here, but you do find something that has some form of decision-making to it. And this is going to be your Surge of the Storm God. No, it's not. So it's going to be, what's it called? Titan's Thunder. So Titan's Thunder is a 1-minute cooldown. Discharge a massive jolt of electricity from Titan Strike. That's the gun, your artifact gun. Into all your pets and Dire Beasts, causing them to deal 6,000 nature damage to their target every 1 second for 8 seconds. So it's a 1-minute cooldown that is directly linked to your Dire Beasts, right? This is essentially the decision you're going to make. A lot of Dire Beast resets generally means, okay, this would be a really good point for the Titan's Thunder to go off, yeah? And you want to base it on how many pets you have out. So you have 2 baseline, which is Hattie and your normal pet, and then you'll get your wild, your Dire Beast to come out as well. Couple of resets there. There's one, but you've got to last. They don't last very long. So we had one there, so I could fire it off there and maybe get some extra damage out of it. Although one of them is going to wear off anyway. Everything else is entirely passive. Master of Beast, Hattie also benefits from Bestial Wrath and Beast Cleave. So I should probably point out here, Hattie naturally doesn't benefit from them until you get the artifact skill. I know that seemed really weird. When I got Hattie, first of all, several months back, and was like, oh, cool, so you get like double Bestial Wrath. No, you don't until you get this. I would have thought that Hattie naturally gained this, but this is actually an artifact ability. I should point out the damage of the BM Hunter is fine, and a lot of people get really caught up on that, saying, well, yeah, but the damage is fine. That's absolutely okay. That is a normal way to look at things. Yes, the damage is fine. The problem is, if you are sort of aware, let me read the rest of these before I come to my conclusion then. So you have Surge of the Storm God. When you use multi-shot, Titan Strike has a chance to discharge an electric current. You can't control that at all, okay? So you get some extra damage there, and everything else is the usual stuff. When you use Misdirection on your pet, you increase your pet's dodge chance, okay? Kill command heals you. Increase the damage of multi-shot. Yeah, I know. Aspect of the Turtle also heals you. Nothing great in terms of the DPS there, is it really? And then you get some extra damage from Bestial Wrath and reduce the cooldown of Aspect of the Cheetah by 60 seconds. It's still 2 minutes. It's still obscene. Increase the damage dealt by Beast Cleave. A lot of AoE stuff mixed into here. You kind of get the idea. Nothing particularly inspired going on with the BM Hunter. My conclusion on this then is, obviously by now you're probably laughing at this spec, especially if you're a regular of this channel, because we obviously, I mean, I've spent years teaching you guys how to not play like this. Essentially, I've worked really hard so you guys can take a spec and absolutely maximize the fuck out of it, and there's not a great deal of ways. There are some really tiny minutia ways of maximizing the BM Hunter, but honestly, it's just plays itself for the most part, and you just kind of along for the ride clicking the buttons. For anybody who's looking for a spec where they kind of know they're not great, and you just want to take out almost the gameplay element of your spec and just focus on the mechanics of the fight, and that's enough for you, and that means that you can actually take part in certain fights, great. The obvious issue with that is, one, if BM turns out to be the absolute best spec, especially with high crit, if you're getting tons of Dire Beasts out all the time, your Bestial Wrath is up like all the time, which is where this spec is easily going to end up towards the even probably middle of the expansion. I'd expect to see that happening. Then you're going to be stuck with it. Survival's not looking great. MM's kind of okay, but honestly, for anybody who's experienced with WoW, this is going to be a particularly horrible experience to play the BM Hunter. I found it very, very difficult to play. Honestly, I just was sort of whacking away and just hoping to get through the levels, and that was it. So I could finally, you know, just to give it a fair chance of a comparison, hoping that I would find some situation where I found it really fun. Unfortunately, I didn't find that whatsoever, but I understand that there are definitely certain players who will probably love this kind of spec. You get to do all sorts of extra stuff. If there's lots of movement to have, you have full range of motion. You don't have to stand still for absolutely anything. You could just keep moving around, and if you have something set up like a Tell Me When that'll just tell you like when your stuff's coming off cooldown, you can't really go wrong. It's very difficult to go wrong with the spec, honestly, as long as you don't cap your focus, which, you know, it doesn't fill up fast enough that that's a risk. I mean, look, I could just stop pressing things for so long to make sure I can kill command, and this is about it, guys. Honestly, it's, for me, this is awful. Really, really bad. I wouldn't recommend this to anybody, because I just think you're not going to get any better at the game. If you don't care about that, though, and you just want to find a way to raid guilds and contribute in some manner that's not a case of being super skillful, then there you go. This is the choice for you. For me, throw this spec in the bin, Blizzard. Do start again, because this spec should be shitloads of fun. You control beasts to the maximum level, and it's just not there. It's just not there. Ladies and gentlemen, the BM Hunter. I wish I could tell you anything better about it, but I just can't. I mean, I've shown you why. All right, I'll see you again. Bye-bye.